What's good, she the people? I said, what's good, she the people? My name is Alicia Garza, and I believe that Black people deserve to be powerful in politics. Did y'all know that Black women voted in higher rates than any other ethnic group in the last 3 election cycles? Do y'all know we're like 3% of the US Congress? You see, America spends so much time shaming Black people for not voting, but really, we should all be ashamed of how few Black women are making decisions and allocating resources, while we continue to ask Black women to save us, time and time again. Black women work hard to hold our families, our communities, and our democracy together, but yet our democracy is not working hard enough for Black women's families and our communities. In my work at the National Domestic Workers Alliance, we put Black women front and center through an organizing program called We Dream in Black. I love that name. We believe that Black women are an important part of how we win rights, respect, and dignity for the millions of domestic workers in the United States, and a critical part of how we will transform the economy from one that is predatory to one that is rooted in care. At this very moment, our members are knocking doors across the state of Georgia. Black women from at least 8 countries, all of whom are domestic workers. And they're doing that to strengthen democracy and make history, or should I say, herstory, in Georgia. In my work at the Black Futures Lab, we have talked to more than 20,000 Black people across the country, asking a very simple question. What do you want to see for your future? And we'll use that information to influence policy in cities and states across the nation. That is how we make Black people powerful in politics. In my work with the Black Lives Matter Global Network, we affirmed that all Black lives matter. And while police violence is a key issue that impacts our communities, it is but just one of the things that we care about. We challenge the notion that Black men are the only people being impacted by state violence. We join people like Kimberly Crenshaw and the African American Policy Forum and Black Youth Project 100 in demanding that we also say the names of Black women who have been killed by police, vigilantes, intimate partners, and the inability of our democracy to tend to our needs. We would not have known about Renisha McBride, who was shot in the face by Ted Wafer, had Dream Hampton not demanded justice, and we would not have convicted him of murder had there not been a movement pressing the world on the different ways in which we are failing Black people in general and Black women in particular. You see, it's not difficult to engage Black people in the decisions that impact our lives, unless, of course, you have a vested interest in making sure that we don't have a say in those decisions. Unfortunately, this is the norm instead of the exception to the rule. Black women are more than 30% of caregivers in this country, but most of them cannot afford their own health care or child care. And asking Black people, including those who are rural and urban, immigrant and US-born, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, gender nonconforming, gender variant, incarcerated and formerly incarcerated, what we want to see for our futures is not difficult. But apparently, what we learned is that a survey like the one that we're doing has not been done in more than 150 years. Oh yeah, that's right. We are doing the largest survey of Black people since slavery was formally abolished in this country. I believe that Black people deserve what all people deserve: access to quality and affordable care, families that stay together and thrive together, clean water, food, and air, families out of cages, quality education, and an economy and a democracy that works for us and with us to shape our futures. We deserve to live full lives, but too many of our political institutions take Black people for granted, especially Black women. Now, this summit that we're at today, and it is incredible, is in the legacy of women of color coming together to say we are ready to set our own agenda. In fact, 2 years ago today, a coalition called We Won't Wait, led by powerful women of color like Tracy Sturdivant and Alicia J. and Ai-jen Poo, who you saw earlier this morning, brought together more than 1,000 women of color, talked to 3.1 million people over kitchen tables to build an agenda that puts our needs front and center. What we learned is that women of color across the nation want to see ourselves reflected in politics. We learned that women of color across the nation are more likely to show up at the polls when we have something to show up for. We learned that an intersectional agenda that includes all of us is not just necessary, but completely possible. Well, we all know what happened in 2016. I mean, are we clear? One of the hardest parts about the outcome of that election was that it confirmed what we had been saying all along. Don't just appeal to Black people culturally. Address the very real needs in our communities, and we'll have your back. So here we are. We have another shot in November. We have another shot in November. And the true test of whether or not we've learned anything about what it takes to win will be in 2020. So, in case we weren't clear, here are some top lines on how best to engage Black people. And I'm warning you now, the information contained herein is not shocking, at least not to us. Number one, Black people are not a monolith. We are complex and we are diverse. We are immigrant, transgender, we are queer, we are rural, we are urban, and you cannot use criminal justice reform as a euphemism for Black people. We care about a lot of issues, and criminal justice is one of them, but it isn't all of them. Speak to what we care about, and don't you dare just talk to us about economic inequality. Number two, because we are not a monolith, because we are diverse and complex, you must diversify how you reach out to us. We don't separate ourselves into tiny pieces, and you should not either. I am Black, I am queer, I am a woman, and all at the same time. There's at least 8 languages that Black people speak in this country, y'all. Figure out how to have conversations with us in the languages that we're most comfortable with. If you're gonna show up at our restaurants, dance with us, and dance like us, at least take the time to sit down with us and talk to us about how we eliminate college debt and how we address police violence and how we make sure that our children grow up to be adults. And number 3, put some respect on our names. Stop telling us that we don't turn out, that we're too lazy to vote, and start demanding that anybody who seeks an office that makes decisions over our lives gives us something that we can roll with. We know a little something about making the right decision, but we do get tired of always having to do what's going to save humanity rather than get our needs met. My name is Alicia Garza, and I believe that Black people deserve to be powerful in politics. Thank you.